Now what has happened is now that the wave has reached the peak and now slowly the cases are coming down in Delhi. Even the Delhi government has now said that we don't need the amount of oxygen which was allocated to them, somewhere around 700 metric tons. So now the current requirement is Delhi is somewhere around 500 metric tons, and now they are trying to divert the excess oxygen to states which need more oxygen. Plus, also, I think, being a devil's advocate here, I think government has done a phenomenal job here in organizing oxygen. Okay, we were caught by surprise. We were not prepared. We would have been better prepared for the second wave. But you see, when the calamity came, the oxygen requirement increased almost by 100 folds. And I think government has done a wonderful job into managing that crisis, because you see, be it any country in the world, even the most developed nations could not have organized such huge quantities of oxygen overnight. So they are still working very hard. But like Dr. Montreja very clearly mentioned, that people are hoarding oxygen at their places. So because there are a lot of fear that, maybe we get COVID positive and we would not get oxygen. So I think even that is being taken care by the Delhi government now that they've started oxygen concentrator camps, and they provided a helpline where they say that, if you need oxygen, just give us a call and in 1 hour we'll supply the oxygen to your place. But more than that, I think the common man needs to understand that when is the real requirement of oxygen. So he needs to understand how the monitoring functions, maybe keep a pulse oximeter at home and keep monitoring and see when the oxygen level falls below a certain percentage, then to ask for oxygen. So that these panic which is floating around the market and around the area gets reduced a lot. See, whenever there is a crisis, we will always have people who will be vultures and who will try to take advantage of the crisis. So even if we bring the strangest of the strangest laws, they'll have loopholes to escape it. But I think what is more concerning here is that a lot of people are criticizing the aid which India is taking from outside. They are saying that it is going to spoil the image of India in international market and the image of our government, that we are talking to, trying to talk about Atmanirbharta, and now we are trying to organize aid from outside. I think that is a very wrong thought process. We should all be supporting it. Right now, image is not the most important thing. It is important that how many lives we can save and how much aggressively we can expand the medical infrastructure to save the country. So I think that is a very important thing to all think about it.
As India battles the second wave of the coronavirus disease, oxygen crisis continue to reign over the country, especially in the southern states now. Goa Medical College and Hospital, that has seen deaths on successive days due to oxygen issues, saw 13 more people die. As many as 75 COVID-19 patients succumbed at the state's biggest COVID facility in the last 4 days, all because of logistical issues in the supply of medical oxygen. Goa Congress is set to file a criminal case claiming cold-blooded murder by the Chief Minister and the Health Minister. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu health officials said that the oxygen control room set up in the Medical Services Corporation building in Chennai was made operational on 6th of May. The aim, however, was to create a smooth access chain for oxygen for hospitals treating COVID patients in the state so that a Delhi-like situation can be avoided and averted. Now, talking about Andhra Pradesh, after at least 11 COVID-19 patients died at Ruia Hospital in Tirupati due to oxygen shortage, the state government scaled up its efforts to procure sufficient medical oxygen to meet the requirement. This oxygen crisis highlights India's logistical problem. A complete supply confusion was witnessed when Karnataka was not able to lift 250 tons of 1,015 tons oxygen allocated by the centre. Oxygen had to be lifted from other states due to major logistical issues in oxygen supply policy of the centre. States like Andhra Pradesh lifted excess of 21.7 tons of oxygen from the Karnataka plants. Well, we thought for some time at least that we were over this crisis. We thought for some time that the curve was flattening and people who were dying as a result of the paucity of oxygen will not die as a result. But this trend continues. It was there, replete in New Delhi, the capital city, and now it is being reported from all corners of the country as well. Let's talk about this with our guest. Joining me on the show is Dr. Deep Goyal, Constant Robotic Surgeon, Senior Director, Department of Surgical Gastro-Oncology. BLK Super Specialty Hospital. Also joining us on the show is Dr. PSV Rao, Consultant Surgeon, Columbia Asia Hospital, Bengaluru. Dr. Rahil Chaudhary, Managing Director of I7 Group of Eye Hospitals, is also here with us. And last but not the least, Dr. Navneet Mutreja, Co-founder, Managing Partner and Consultant Physician, Care On Call, Bengaluru, also joins us on the program. Let me start by Dr. Deep Goel. Dr. Goel, in your opinion, what more needs to be done? Just providing oxygen is not really helping out. There seems to be this obfuscation, this tug of war between the center and state, which is perhaps stuck, or is an impediment, Dr. Goel, at a policy level. Now, by the time you have a law, by the time you have a policy, what is the cost in terms of lives lost that the country will have to bear?
Vineet, you're absolutely right. This is a pertinent question and a problem. Let me answer this by dividing it into two. So there is an acute shortage of oxygen, which we faced in Delhi, which was very quickly overcome. Then the problem comes of logistic, that the oxygen is available, but how do we transport the oxygen to the needy people? I think what is happening now in states which you mentioned is the logistic problem rather than the acute shortage of the oxygen. Maybe in Goa, what happened is probably because it happened in the night, probably it is a problem of oxygen pressure slowing down because of lack of oxygen, or some fault in the equipment which is delivering oxygen. So we need to have a robust program on the drawing board, and then we need equally robust execution machinery which can execute it. That is what is required, like we do it in a war. So it's very simple as far as I can see things. On a drawing room, on a drawing board, you have a plan. Okay, this much needs to go to this place, this much needs to go to this place. Now you need logistics, and I think there is nobody better than the army to do that in a situation like this, where there can be rules and regulation, where there can be people fighting over the same supply of the truck. If it is carried by the state personnel, if it is carried by, say, border security force, who's going to stop them? And they are so focused in doing their job. We take their help whenever there are floods, whenever there are riots, whenever there are wars. This is a war. Let us not mistaken that this is a war situation, and we need to tackle it in the same sentiments. We need to get all our resources who can deliver it, and no better, in my opinion, there's nobody better than army or those kind of personnel to do that.
Absolutely, I completely concur with you, Dr. Goel. And Dr. Rao, on the 21st of April, the government told the Supreme Court that it had more oxygen than was required by the 12 states which had the highest caseload of COVID-19, and yet delivery was a problem because of infrastructure constraints, because of the paperwork, red tapeism, and the bureaucratic hurdles which exist today when it comes to supplying oxygen. And all of these hurdles are manifesting themselves in terms of people dying in various cities and towns across the country. Now, obviously, there is a plan by the central government to tide this over. But yet again, how soon is soon enough before we can start saving people who are not going to die as a result of depleting oxygen?
Vineet, multiple points. Number one, it has been long time back stated very clearly that only 2% of the entire industrial oxygen production is required for the medical use. So there is enough oxygen. Industrial oxygen, if anyone has any qualms about it, is 99.5% pure. The medical oxygen required is just 94%, so there is no problem there. Third, all the oxygen production, most of the industrial oxygen production is in steel industries, and most of them are in East India. So if you are using trains and these are signal-free corridors being set for these so-called oxygen expresses, and you are transferring oxygen from Jamshedpur or Odisha to places where the oxygen is required, I can understand. But if you are going to simultaneously transfer oxygen from Bellary in Karnataka to Andhra Pradesh and from Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh to Karnataka, I think someone needs to look at the geographical map of India. I just can't understand. Earlier, what was happening when Maharashtra and Kerala were having a heavy caseload and needed oxygen, Karnataka gave them oxygen. Now, when Karnataka needs more oxygen, the caseload has gone up here. Kerala has been helping us out. So, you help each other out when the other person is in help is very good. Good understanding between states, helping each other out, great. And learning from each other's mistakes, learning also from the best practices of each other, also excellent. But if someone sitting in the center is going to be allotting cross purpose like this, then they need to look at the geographical map of India and figure out what is the best way of dealing with it. Now you talked about Goa. Goa is a port city. Indian Navy has brought oxygen from Kuwait and Bahrain to Mangalore port in Karnataka. It has brought from Singapore to Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. So Goa is also a port city. Some effort could have been made to get them oxygen if they don't have enough oxygen. And now that Maharashtra's caseload is down, Maharashtra could have also helped out Goa. So the coordination, if you are going to have a central scheme of allotting oxygen, then those people need to coordinate it better. And between the states, there has been pretty good cooperation in the south, and from what I can make out, even in most of India. So the center needs to coordinate better.
Absolutely. And Dr. Bhatreja, the disbursal of oxygen was taken over by an empowered panel of officers of the central government. And this was a committee which was formulated in September 2020, but they only got to planning the logistics of oxygen dispersal on the 11th of April. And let me tell you, that was the height of the crisis. And, even in terms of tankers, India does have a paucity of tankers and it will take time to import them. But yet again, the question is, people are dying.
Very true, very true. The crisis is really very grim, and it has taken us by surprise. There should have been better planning and better implementation immediately after the first wave. But with the second wave coming in, we saw this huge surge of cases and the rapid rise in cases. And, I guess somewhere the government has fallen short with respect to implementation. It is definitely an issue that should have been looked into, and much better planning should have been done. But having said that, I also want to point out about there's so much of panic and panic buying, panic stocking, panic hoarding of oxygen. Many patients who we know who have just been diagnosed as COVID positive. That's it. They don't have any, major symptoms of breathlessness or dizziness or anything like that. Their oxygen saturation is absolutely fine in room air. But nonetheless, they keep hoarding oxygen. They keep calling and asking, doctor, we need cylinders. We need oxygen concentrators. We know people who are hoarding 2 or 3 in their homes who are not even COVID positive. These are absolutely fit and fine individuals who have oxygen sitting in their homes only in anticipation that what if me or someone in my family becomes COVID positive. So this is something that needs to be avoided, and that oxygen needs to be given to someone who is needy, someone who actually needs it, be it an individual at their home or be it someone at a hospital. So while we can look at the government and how they are planning and how they are implementing and the delays and all of that, we also need to look at ourselves and see where our panic and anxiety is kicking in necessarily and unnecessarily and creating unnecessary havoc and shortage in supply of oxygen.
Absolutely. And Dr. Chaudhary, we thought that after Delhi and Maharashtra stopped grappling with the usage of oxygen, there will be respite in other states as well. The same oxygen could be diverted to perhaps a Goa or a Tamil Nadu or an Andhra Pradesh as well. And yet again, we find ourselves, waking up to stories of people dying due to the lack of oxygen. There's obviously not enough being percolated down from the center, from the top to the bottom.
You see, now what has happened is, now that the wave has reached the peak and now slowly the cases are coming down in Delhi, even the Delhi government has now said that we don't need the amount of oxygen which was allocated to them, somewhere around 700 metric tons. So now the current requirement is Delhi is somewhere around 500 metric tons, and now they are trying to divert the excess oxygen to states which need more oxygen. Plus also, I think being a devil's advocate here, I think government has done a phenomenal job here in organizing oxygen. Okay, we were caught by surprise. We were not prepared. We would have been better prepared for the second wave. But you see, when the calamity came, the oxygen requirement increased almost by 100-folds. And I think government has done a wonderful job into managing that crisis, because you see, be it any country in the world, even the most developed nations could not have organized such huge quantities of oxygen overnight. So they are still working very hard. But like Dr. Montreja very clearly mentioned, that people are hoarding oxygen at their places. So because there are a lot of fear that, maybe we get COVID positive and we would not get oxygen. So I think even that is being taken care by the Delhi government now that they've started oxygen concentrator camps, and they've provided a helpline where they say that, if you need oxygen, just give us a call and in 1 hour we'll supply the oxygen to your place. But more than that, I think the common man needs to understand that when is the real requirement of oxygen. So he needs to understand how the monitoring functions, maybe keep a pulse oximeter at home and keep monitoring and see when the oxygen level falls below a certain percentage, then to ask for oxygen. So that these panic which is floating around the market and around the area gets reduced a lot.
Dr. Goel, all right, I agree with you. To some extent, the government has done okay in terms of the response to the oxygen crisis. I believe that no lives should have been lost as a result of oxygen paucity. And as long as people are dying, I really don't think that the government will be able to pat itself on the back or thump their chest or claim any kind of a victory also, Dr. Chaudhary, because people have died and they continue to die. This is also a symptom, Dr. Goel, of a policy overhaul in terms of what hospitals need to have and what criteria do hospitals abide by when it comes to pandemics and endemics. Do you think that with the third wave knocking on our doors, looming very close to us, it should also be on the government's horizon how to take care of the third wave and its resultant complications? Because this time what we are learning is that the third wave is going to impact kids. And when it comes to taking care of kids, the people qualified to do so are also far in between.
So let me answer your question by giving you an example. Today morning, I was speaking to a CMO in Uttar Pradesh of my hometown. He has been delivered 8 top-class ventilators to the district hospital. His problem is there is no staff. Nobody knows how to manage those ventilators. Now tell me, what can we do? So it is one thing to procure the equipment. Other thing is there is an acute shortage of trained manpower, people who can handle those equipments. So I think there is a huge problem. And as you very rightly said, that we cannot make mistakes at every step and then learn it. Somebody needs to take this from the horn and say that, okay, let's do public-private partnership. If there is a shortage of acute staff, there is always give and take. But if we hide behind the policy that this is the government stuff, it cannot go out of the government hospital, then what have we done? We have wasted the funds. The equipment is there, but it is not being used for the benefit of the people. So, in my opinion, if the district hospital can do a tie-up with a private hospital and borrow their staff to run those ventilators, everybody will be helpful, I'm sure, in these times. But obviously, this cannot happen at a local level. The CMO cannot take that decision. This has to come from the ministry. This has to come from the chief minister of the state or from the center. So what you are saying exactly right, that at this point of time, we must have an open mind. People should be accessible. Policies have to be dynamic. There have to be exceptions to the policies. Whatever is making sense, this should be done, rather than hiding behind the red tapeism or the rules.
Absolutely. And Dr. Rao, my next question to you is based on red tapeism and the bureaucratic hurdles, which have become ever so pronounced after the second wave has come along. Do you think they are directly to be blamed for the kind of delays we have seen in the supply of essential medical goods and supplies?
Vineet, there are many such activities in which technocrats have to be available. You can't have bureaucrats who are working in various departments finally trying to take a decision. So in many of these fields, you need a technocrat at the top. And what government has recently done with the armed forces, putting a army, air force, a naval, and a army person on the into the bureaucratic top, you need to do that, so that there is a better understanding what an epidemic will need. And as I have said many times earlier in earlier sessions, we need to get in the national NRDF and the armed forces into this, because both the armed forces and the disaster management people are trained and skilled and have the facilities to deal with this. And I think they will also have people who, as a team, can go around wherever these equipment that like Dr. Goyal said, it has reached hospitals where no one knows how to use it. I'm sure they can go there, help them set it up, show them how to use it, and also if there is any equipment lying which has not been repaired, which is the story in a lot of government hospitals, then repair that equipment and then move on to the next place. And such a teams can be set up by both the Army and the NDRF. Now, the other question you had also mentioned, that is about efficiency of use of oxygen. We have discussed this before. If there is oxygen leaking or it is unnecessarily being wasted somewhere, those things also have to be sorted out. So there are many aspects to this oxygen issue. All of them need to be answered. So the bureaucratic setup, they need someone on the top who can give technical inputs on how to manage the oxygen problem all over. And there has to be a certain amount of decentralization also, like what Karnataka government is doing. They have put up, like I have mentioned earlier, they have put up what is called as a DITR, decentralized triaging emergency facility. So they have already put up teams. These teams have one doctor and one nurse on 8-hour shifts. So that is 3 doctors and 3 nurses to each of these. And they are putting up more and more of these triage teams. Their job is to decide who needs, who can be in home quarantine, who needs oxygen, and who needs to be in the hospital. And those who are on oxygen, they are going to be monitored as to if they really need, into 3 groups again, those who need less than 5 liters, those who need 5 to 10 liters, and those who need more than 10 liters. So this is to ensure that whatever oxygen is available is properly utilized and not wasted.
Absolutely. And Dr. Matreja, in this fight, this continuing, ever-growing fight against the paucity of resources, what do you think are some of the things that government or governments can do, state governments specifically, because health is a state subject, to make sure that not even a single person dies?
So what I would say the answer to this question is for every hospital, for every institute, medical institute, to try and be self-sufficient. So there are so many hospitals, so many nursing homes that do not have oxygen plants. So possibly where the state government can come in is either subsidize or even completely bear the cost of setting up these plants in these hospitals. It is quite inexpensive. It hardly costs 30 to 50 lakhs for a plant, and that is something that can take care of a 200 plus bedded hospital. So these plants can be set up in a matter of couple of weeks. And just to give you an example, a hospital spends at least 5 to 10 lakhs on oxygen every month. So if you consider that, they rather spend 30-50 lakhs as their initial capital investment. So state governments can help in subsidizing or even taking on that cost completely. And that will help, putting an end to this problem, because refilling it, paying for it, transportation of oxygen, logistics, all of that can be done away if hospitals have oxygen at their disposal. Even we at Care on Call, as a temporary measure, we are purchasing large numbers of oxygen concentrators that will be delivered soon so that we can cater to our patients. So I think this is where the government can step in, where they can bring down the cost of setting up oxygen plants or in oxygen concentrators. The import costs are very, very high. China is just taking advantage of the situation. So this is where governments can come in, as they've already taken away, the taxes and the costs which are there with respect to customs duty. In the same way, they can reduce the cost. We can be self-sufficient. We can manufacture our own oxygen concentrators. So I think the way forward is to be self-sufficient so that we can prevent this problem in the future. And that's how I feel both state as well as central governments can step in by either subsidizing or, maybe even completely taking over the cost of oxygen.
Right, and Dr. Chaudhary, we have seen what has happened in the guise of this requirement. Hoarding, black marketing, overselling, criminal conspiracies have all led to the loss of life as well. And now where the brunt lies, or rather the load lies, is a law being formulated when it comes to these medical essential requirements. Where do you stand on that? Please unmute yourself, Dr. Chaudhary.
Whenever there is a crisis, we will always have people who will be vultures and who will try to take advantage of the crisis. So even if we bring the strangest of the strangest laws, they'll have loopholes to escape it. But I think what is more concerning here is that a lot of people are criticizing the aid which India is taking from outside. They are saying that it is going to spoil the image of India in international market and the image of our government, that we are talking to, trying to talk about Atmanirbharta, and now we are trying to organize aid from outside. I think that is a very wrong thought process. We should all be supporting it. Right now, image is not the most important thing. It is important that how many lives we can save and how much aggressively we can expand the medical infrastructure to save the country. So I think that is a very important thing. All think about it.
Absolutely. We've completely run out of time. Thanking all the doctors on this panel for speaking with us. And before we leave, my colleague Arvind Chaturvedi, editor of ITV UP, has filed this ground report from Lucknow on the oxygen availability and crisis. Let's listen in.
पूरा देश इस समय कोरोना की बड़ी लड़ाई से लड़ रहा है और उत्तर प्रदेश भी अछूता नहीं है। हम आपको एक ऐसे अफसर से मिलवाने जा रहे हैं जिनके यहाँ एक बड़ी घटना हम कहेंगे, पिता की मौत हुई है, लेकिन हम आपको ये बताना चाहते हैं कि वो उसके बाद भी ऑफिस में बैठे हैं और 24 घंटे, मुझे ये कहने में ज़रा भी गुरेज नहीं है कि 24 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं। अगर रात को आप 2 बजे भी फ़ोन करेंगे तो आप उनका फ़ोन उठा हुआ पाएंगे। ये बड़ी बात है और मैं समझता हूँ कि ये लोगों में विश्वास बहाल करने का काम करते हैं। अवनीश जी, बहुत कठिन समय है ये आपके लिए भी, और मैं समझता हूँ कि बहुत कम लोग ऐसे होते हैं। ऑक्सीजन को लेके बहुत सारे सवाल लोगों के मन में हैं और लोग सवाल भी पूछ रहे हैं। आपने देखा होगा कि ऑक्सीजन को लेके बड़ी चुनौती का सामना उत्तर प्रदेश को करना पड़ा। फिलहाल आपने एक पूरा सेटअप यहाँ पे किया हुआ है, पूरे प्रदेश को ऑक्सीजन कैसे मिले उसको ट्रैक करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। आप मुझे फिलहाल आज की स्थिति बताइए कि आज की स्थिति उत्तर प्रदेश की क्या है।
देखिए, पूरी कोरोना की जो लड़ाई है, ये ऑक्सीजन, इसी का जो है दवा ही ऑक्सीजन दवा है। आप सबको मालूम है कि यदि ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन पॉजिटिव रहे 92, 94, 96 तक रहता है तो उसमें जो है पेशेंट को कोरोना से मुक्ति पाने में बहुत सहयोग मिलता है। और जहां ऑक्सीजन का लेवल नीचे गिरता है वहां जो है उसमें मल्टीपल कॉम्प्लिकेशंस होते हैं और इस कार्य में जो है कठिनाई डॉक्टर्स को आती है। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने जब ये 22 अप्रैल को हम लोग बैठे तो टीम 9 की बैठक में उन्होंने निर्देश दिया कि ऑक्सीजन की पूरी व्यवस्था जो है ऐसे सुचारू रूप से करा जाए और ऐसा टेक्नोलॉजी
कमांड सेंटर बना दिया जाए।
जी, ऐसा टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल करें। वो अक्सर हर चीज़ में हम लोगों को हिदायत और सलाह देते हैं कि टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल करो, मॉडर्न टेक्निक से इस्तेमाल करो। उसी क्रम में उन्होंने आदेश दिया कि गृह विभाग में ये FSDA के साथ, गृह विभाग में ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट के साथ, गृह विभाग में पुलिस के साथ, मेडिकल एजुकेशन और मेडिकल डिपार्टमेंट के साथ एक पूरा हम लोग कंट्रोल रूम बनाए। और मुझे बताने में खुशी है,
समझाइए कैसे काम
जी,
कर रहा है।
मुझे बताने में खुशी है कि जहां हम 538 मेट्रिक टन प्रोवाइड कर रहे थे 22 अप्रैल को, अगले ही दिन चूंकि टैंकर वापस लौटे तो भरने के लिए चले गए तो 380 मेट्रिक टन रह गया। फिर अगले दिन टैंकर लौटे तो 554 रह गया, फिर वापस लौटे तो 441 रह गया। धीरे 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 करते करते आज की तारीख में, आज हम लोगों ने यानी 14 तारीख में 1011 मेट्रिक टन, या ऑन एन एवरेज हम देखें तो पिछले लगभग 6 तारीख से, 6 अप्रैल से अब तक 14 अप्रैल तक, यानी लगभग 12 से 14 दिन यानी 2 हफ्ते तक हम लोग ने एवरेज 1000 मेट्रिक टन प्रोवाइड किया है। ये जो 1000 मेट्रिक टन है, ये हमने जो ग्रीन आप देख रहे हैं ये रोड से टैंकर से दिया है, जो आप ब्लू देख रहे हैं ये ट्रेन से दिया है। हमको रेलवे का रेल मंत्रालय का, भारत सरकार के रेल माननीय मंत्री जी का और पूरे रेल के अधिकारियों का भरपूर सहयोग मिला है जब ये संभव हुआ है। आप देखें, जैसे ही रेल से हमारी सप्लाई बढ़ने लग गई वैसे ही हम लोग ने 1000 मीट्रिक टन क्रॉस किया है। आज 21 ट्रेनें लखनऊ और बोकारो के बीच में चल चुकी हैं। जो कंटेनर वाली ट्रेनें हैं 7 ट्रेनें हमारी जो है 8 ट्रेनें हमारी चल चुकी हैं। अब तक हम लखनऊ ला चुके हैं ट्रेन से, हम कानपुर ला चुके हैं, मुरादाबाद बरेली ला चुके हैं, हम जो है वाराणसी ला चुके हैं और आज ही इस समय 12 बजे के बाद गोरखपुर में भी जो है हमारी ट्रेन पहुंची है और गोरखपुर में भी जो है हम लोगों ने बहुत तेजी से ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई की है। आज शाम तक या कल सुबह तक हम मुरादाबाद भी भेजेंगे और आने वाले समय में हम आगरा और मेरठ भी ट्रेन से ईस्टर्न इंडिया से भेजेंगे। हम पूरे ईस्टर्न इंडिया से जो है ऑक्सीजन जहाँ जहाँ अवेलेबल है उसको उठा रहे हैं और साथ ही साथ वेस्टर्न यूपी के लिए नोएडा, गाजियाबाद और मेरठ के लिए हम जामनगर से उठा रहे हैं जहाँ से हम पूरा ऑक्सीजन ले जा रहे हैं। इसमें जो टैंकर्स की जो अगर हम व्यवस्था देखें, हमने जब शुरू किया था 60 टैंकर मात्र थे, उनकी 700-800 मीट्रिक टन की कैपेसिटी थी। आज हमने प्रदेश में ऑक्सीजन, नाइट्रोजन, आर्गन के सब टैंकर्स का इस्तेमाल किया, 1200 मीट्रिक टन की कैपेसिटी है। अगर हम सामान्य रूप से सड़क मार्ग से लाते तो कम से कम 2 दिन लगता, तो हम 600 मीट्रिक टन से ज्यादा फीड नहीं कर सकते। आप ओरिजिनल नक्शा दिखाइए, अगर नक्शा दिखाइए मेन। देखिए, अब जब हमने ट्रेन से पहुंचाया, रोड से पहुंचाया और आप देखेंगे एयरफोर्स के जहाज से भी खाली टैंकर जहां भेजे, आगरा से 32 बार जहाज भेजा गया, लखनऊ से 20 बार भेजा गया। तो ऐसे में जहाज से टैंकर एक तरफ भेजना, ट्रेन से टैंकर दूसरी तरफ लाना, तो ये सुझाव जो आया था सभी हमारे वरिष्ठ लोगों का, इसका इस्तेमाल हुआ है जो हम लोग इस काम को सुनिश्चित किया।
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.